It started with a taste, bitter, warm, and sharp with guilt, that clung to my tongue and refused to leave. My body froze as my chest rose and fell too quickly, heart thudding against my ribs. Across from me stood Ryan. His eyes, too young but full of something far older, locked onto mine. There was a strange satisfaction in his gaze, but also a danger I hadn't anticipated. I was 55, he was just 22. My stepson. And this, whatever this was, should never have happened. It had begun over something laughably small. A fight about laundry, of all things. He claimed I shrunk his shirt. I snapped back, mostly joking, but irritated too. The sarcasm flew between us like sparks, sharp, fast, unfiltered. He dared me to kneel and apologize. I played along, thinking it would end there. But somehow, there I was, on my knees on the cold tile floor, hands trembling, wedding band catching the light above us like a cruel joke. Then he leaned in, voice low and certain, asking if I had wanted this too. And the truth was unbearable, because I had. Neither of us could have known how far it would go, or how completely it would tear apart everything I had spent a lifetime holding together. The walls I built with care. The marriage I clung to out of duty more than love. The quiet house that had become more prison than home. My name is Linda. I'm a retired legal assistant living in a sleepy Florida town. My husband, Jim, is a contractor, a good man, honest and hardworking, but never around. He chases jobs from state to state, gone for weeks at a time. In his absence, the silence filled everything. Dinners eaten alone, TV flickering in place of conversation. Birthdays spent pretending I didn't mind being forgotten. A bed that hadn't known warmth in years. When Ryan moved in, it wasn't meant to be anything more than a kind gesture. He had just graduated from college, no job yet, loans piling up. Jim offered him a place to stay while he found his footing, and I agreed without hesitation. I told myself it was the right thing to do. But in truth, I had no idea what I was inviting into our home. At first, it was little things. Ryan would come down shirtless after his workouts, muscles taut and skin still damp with sweat. His compliments landed too heavily, lingered too long. His eyes stayed on me in ways that made my stomach twist. I brushed it off. I was old enough to be his mother. I thought nothing could come of it. But one evening, thick with Florida heat, something shifted. I was folding laundry in the back room, the air dense and unmoving. He walked in wearing nothing but low-slung sweatpants, damp from a run, his chest glistening under the low light. And in that moment, every line we were supposed to respect blurred. My throat went dry the moment he stepped into the room. "Hey," Ryan said, casually, as if nothing was out of place. "Do you always wear dresses that tight just to do laundry?" I tried to laugh it off, told him to go take a shower, but he didn't move. He just stared and said something that made my heart stutter. "Maybe I like watching you bend like that." My face flushed. My pulse surged. I should have shut it down right there, should have raised my voice, should have pushed him away. But I didn't. I froze. Not out of fear, but something else, something far more dangerous. I wanted him. The next morning, I did everything I could to avoid him. I stayed in the bedroom too long. I refolded laundry I had already folded twice. But I couldn't erase the memory of what had happened. His touch. His kiss, the heat of his breath on my skin. Jim called from Tallahassee with a cheery voice, saying he'd be gone another week due to site delays. I told him I missed him, but that was a lie. Because now, the silence in the house didn't feel empty, it felt like an open door. Ryan was already in the kitchen when I finally came out. Shirtless again, drinking juice straight from the carton like he had every right to be there. "Morning, Linda," he said slowly, deliberately. "Sleep okay?" My heart was pounding. I cleared my throat and told him we needed to talk. He stepped closer. I tried to tell him what he did last night was wrong. But he cut me off. "What we did," he said. "You didn't stop me. You tasted me. You took it all. And I've never seen someone look so alive." His words cut deep, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. I had spent the night drowning in guilt, replaying every second. But he didn't seem to carry any of it. He wasn't sorry. And worst of all, it wasn't over. The following week was like walking through a minefield. Every room in the house held a new risk. He'd brush past me in the hallway, lips grazing my neck as if it was all just some joke. He left the bathroom door slightly open when he showered, just enough for me to see more than I should. At dinner, he'd sit across from me, our legs touching under the table, eyes burning through me with every shared glance. I told myself to put a stop to it. I told myself to set boundaries, to confess everything to Jim. But instead, I fed on the attention. After years of being invisible, Ryan made me feel seen, desired, alive, and just when I thought I had it all under control, everything nearly came crashing down. Jim came home early, Friday night instead of Sunday. He walked through the door with a bouquet in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other, eyes sparkling with affection. My stomach twisted into knots. Not just from guilt, but because I knew Ryan was upstairs. Naked, waiting for me. Jim poured the wine, kissed my neck, and I flinched. My skin, still marked with memory, recoiled. Then, like fate playing a cruel joke, Ryan came downstairs wearing nothing but a towel. My whole body tensed, but Jim barely noticed. "Hey, buddy," he said warmly. "Didn't know you were still here." Ryan chuckled, casual as ever. "Just showered. Didn't realize you were back." Jim smiled, completely unaware of the storm unfolding beneath his own roof. "Hope you haven't been driving your stepmom crazy," Jim joked, completely unaware. Ryan's eyes found mine across the room, and his smirk deepened as he replied, "She's been entertaining." Jim laughed, but I didn't. I couldn't. I just stood there, trying to keep my knees from buckling under the weight of what that smile meant. That night, while Jim slept beside me, Ryan sent a text. "Come downstairs or I'll come up." My hands trembled as I read it. I slipped out of bed like a thief in the night, padding softly down the stairs. I only made it halfway before I stopped. Frozen, torn between guilt and obsession, between what I owed my husband and what I craved like a drug. By the end of the week, Ryan had stopped pretending. There were no more subtle glances or quiet brushes of skin. He pursued me openly, deliberately. And this wasn't just about lust anymore. It was something deeper, darker, an assertion of power. He had unlocked a part of me I didn't even know existed. A part buried beneath years of being overlooked, dismissed, and slowly forgotten. With him, I didn't feel like a ghost, I felt like a goddess. Desired, seen, worshipped, and in that fire, I felt alive again. But it couldn't last. That Sunday, Jim invited a few coworkers over to watch the Dolphins game. The house was suddenly loud, full of beer, snacks, and banter. I wore a simple dress. No makeup. I tried to keep my distance. To behave, but Ryan wouldn't let me. Every time Jim looked away, Ryan found a way to get close. He whispered crude things into my ear, things I couldn't repeat. His hand would brush mine or press against me when no one was watching. My phone buzzed with messages I dared not open in front of anyone. I was unraveling, and he knew it. Then it happened, the moment that shattered everything. Jim stepped outside to take a call, and left his phone on the counter. It buzzed with a voicemail notification, from me. My stomach turned. I hadn't called him, had I? I tapped the message, and there it was, my voice, mixed with Ryan's. Moans, whispers, the unmistakable sounds of us, from the night before, in the kitchen. My phone must have accidentally dialed him, recording everything. Panic set in. I deleted the message, but it was too late. Jim walked back in and stopped cold. He saw my face, drained of color, eyes wide with terror. "What's wrong, Linda?" he asked. "You look like you saw a ghost." Ryan entered the room right behind him. And with a grin, he sealed our fate. "When are you heading back out again, Dad?" he said casually. "Linda and we've gotten real close while you've been gone." Jim turned, slowly, first to Ryan, then to me, and in that moment, everything exploded. And then I broke. I told Jim everything, the truth, raw and ugly. He stared at me like I wasn't the woman he'd married, like I was a stranger who had killed her and worn her skin. "You were supposed to be his mother," he whispered, his voice trembling with something far worse than rage, betrayal. "How long?" he asked. I couldn't answer. I didn't even try. Ryan stood off to the side, silent and unmoved. No apology, no regret, just that same unreadable expression. Cold, detached. Like none of this had ever mattered to him at all. Jim left that night. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He didn't even slam the door. He just walked out and never looked back. No calls. No messages. Ryan was gone by morning. No note. No explanation. Just an empty bed and a house that felt like a graveyard. I unraveled. I stopped eating. Stopped sleeping. The silence in the house wasn't peace. It was punishment. Every corner echoed with Jim's last words. "You disgust me." And maybe I did. That's the truth. The aftermath. With just one taste, I lost everything, my husband, my stability, and a piece of myself I don't know if I'll ever get back. And it all began with a single, reckless moment. One decision, driven by need and hunger and longing to feel something. Was it worth it? Even now, I don't have an answer. But I've learned this. Silence, loneliness, and desire, when they mix together, can become a fire hot enough to burn down everything you thought was safe. When someone finally sees you, even for the wrong reasons, sometimes your soul responds before your mind can scream stop. That's my truth. Ugly, honest, real. Now I want to hear yours. What would you have done in my place? Do you believe in second chances, even after betrayal? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story stirred something inside you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because next time, the secret is even darker. Disclaimer. This story is a fictional dramatization inspired by real emotional struggles and moral dilemmas. It is intended for mature audiences and reflective purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Names, characters, and events have been altered or are entirely fictitious to protect privacy and ensure narrative integrity.